All right, everybody, we're about to get started. Please find your seats and wrap up your conversations. My name is Zachary. I'm the programs coordinator here at the Northeast Harbor Library. Please take this opportunity to silence your phones if you haven't done that already. I usually like to mention that we're able to offer free programs like this year-round, thanks to our donors and thanks to our collaborators, artists, writers, and folks like 12 Willows Press. Coming up this Friday, April 17th, we're hosting the Coffee House Open Mic, featuring musicians, poets, and performers from across the island. That's Friday the 17th at 6:30 p.m. New performers are always welcome. So to sign up for that or hear more about all of our programs, I encourage you to go to nehlibrary.org or chat with me after the program. I think a lot of us in the audience are also writers, and I think that's a really beautiful thing about the anthology as a format, getting to know the folks, your cohort as it is. So to introduce our authors and the new anthology titled Echoes in the Fog, please welcome the co-founder of 12 Willows Press, Stephen Long.
Good evening, and thank you for coming to this evening's reading. It's always exciting to be able to come to readings and wondering who's going to show up. And so tonight there's a really good turnout, so thank you so much. A little bit about Echoes in the Fog. It's actually the third anthology in the literary. I'm sorry. Yes. In a series, and so the first book was Rivers of Ink, and then the second book was North Woods at Night, and so now we have Echoes in the Fog. Each book focuses on a certain aspect of Maine, and so this one is on the coast. What I like about this one is that it has 68 writers and poets and photographers. And so it has a whole smorgasbord of art, and so I'm really excited with how this book came out. We're working on the next edition that's going to be coming out this December. This one is called The Thinning Light: Reflections on Fall in Maine. And so the submissions window closes at the end of this month, so there is still time to submit. If you're so interested, check out 12 Willows Press on the submissions page, and that'll give you all the necessary information. Tonight's readers, we have, I think we had 10, 2 people had to drop out. There was a mix-up in one of the names with 2 people that have very similar names. So it's kind of interesting to see how it happened. But it doesn't normally work that way, but hey, that's how it goes. So tonight, our first reader will be Douglas Wright, and taking us off. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Douglas Wright, and I will be reading a portion of my piece, The Message in a Bottle. But before I start, I just want to say thank you to Northeast Harbor Library for hosting the event, and Steve with all his work, both for, am I not close enough? Not close enough. Okay, can I just take it off, or? We'll try that. Okay. And also thanks Steve for putting together the anthology, both the past ones as well as the future one that's coming out, The Thinning Light, which I'm working really hard on my piece. It's not quite ready just yet. But anyways, Message in a Bottle. Parents having installed themselves on the sliver of damp and dank sand, books in hand and bottles of beer sweating. You and your brother start exploring, scrabbling from stone to stone. Your summertime calluses as protective as any boot against the slick granite and razor clams. Playing with some rockweed, its bubbles slippery and twisted, they resist your attempts at popping them. Failing one, you try others, a couple relenting. Their bodies hiss and rupture, little spiral galaxies of foam dance down your forearm. The smell is evocative, like cherry blossoms in bloom or dog in heat, all of it a taboo to your young mind. So you wipe your hands on your thighs and climb drier boulders. "Over here, quick," your brother calls out. You jump and climb back a few yards to where he's standing. A sandy crater melts at his feet, an upturned stone at its side. "It's enormous," he exclaims, waterlogged finger outstretched. Amongst the polished stones, his hind legs wriggling, tearing at the drying sand, lays a crab, green and angry at the disturbance. Grabbing it, legs latching onto your fingers, a moment's fear passes as you each gauge the other. Your brother screams in delight as the crab salivates, slowly asphyxiating in the alien world. It raises a pincer, ready to defend itself against the cackling titans. You laugh. After shoving it in your brother's face and him tumbling backwards, you bring the crab near. From your whirlpools to its jeweled quasars, eye to eye, life recognizes life, and you dance in the shared existence. This very act arrests your breath as you tumble past an event horizon into a singularity of communion, but the moment's cut short. A meteor shower of sand pelts your backside. The pain travels up your hamstrings like a whip mid-crack to your shoulder blades. Turning, your brother's face wavers between righteousness and fear. Chasing him, your high-pitched squeals echoing out into the eternal seas. Your orbits spin tighter and tighter. His feet slide out. Screams and laughter blend in the descent. Where there is a you was a nothing. A pre-existence that rests outside time and space and laughs and stones. And in your nothing, not before, quantum perturbations spun and plucked their polydimensional strings, their movements rising and falling, cascading into themselves till a resonance was reached out from that potential, and from that potential came all, you, him, the stones, even green little crabs. As caught in the strafing beam of a lighthouse, tsunamis of the very foundational forces that define our universe erupted, crested, crashed into existence. The mist rising, billowing into the unknown through seas of light and heat. And as our place stretched and formed, cooling into a three-dimensional space, enveloped in some higher dimensional sea foam, forms and structures emerged as carved sands in the wake of undertow. From these seas, humanity will reach for eternity, or at least for tomorrow. And despite the millions of years of evolution and the fictions they've told themselves, they'll eventually fail. Either marooned on island Earth, obscured behind a fog of asteroids and short-sightedness, or even out there, island hopping between the stars. The stars, they'll eventually burn through their fuel, and there'll come a day when the last one shines and fades, and turns black as an abandoned lighthouse. Radiation will continue to boil beneath the skins of these dead stars, and more years will need to pass than there are grains of sand across all of Earth's beaches before even the very forces that made matter possible enter their own twilight years, with bad knees and melancholic memories. The nuclear and strong forces, the mortar between the atomic bricks will shake and hum and relent, and all will decay as coastal stones on legion worlds, and all will fall into a dark, seething foam in a sea of quantum potential. In that effervescence, bubbling to the surface for a few scant decades, had been you. Time enough, but just, to delight in shared existence before having to take one last look of your bedroom at your brother or your daughter, slowly breathing nearby, before your own eyes, heavy with the day's tasks, fall and the warm embrace of dark non-existence consumes you. In those turbulent waters of time and matter, the universe saw fit to know itself through you, however briefly, to dip your hand into the cool, temporal waters of eternity, framed in the compound eyes of a green crab. Thank you.
Still in crab world. Let's see. Can I put it there? Can you hear there? Okay. I'm a little blind, so I'm gonna adjust the glasses and get close. Anyway, thank you. I can't see. Thank you everybody for coming tonight. This is my first publication in about 25 years. I wrote prolifically in college and then just sort of let it go by the wayside. I started working at the Briar Patch bookstore in Bangor and kind of got re-inspired. So here we go. This is called Vinyl Haven. No one is awake. We tiptoe from the house filled with our sisters side by side in rooms like bony fish, down the salt dew lawn, towels in hand, past the boathouse smelling of linseed, Stony Cove dressed in rockweed and bladderwrack, slick and robust. 2 days have passed since the docking, and still the island keeps us bridal veiled and shrouded. A legendary Avalon, half-finished Zion, clouded and salt-drenched. Even the sky has forgotten who she is. Imogen dives into the trusty arms of the saline bay. I take the aluminum ladder, 1 step, 2, and release. I'll pause. That's okay, I know, I see that, and I don't know how to fix. Boop, boop, okay. Imogen dives into the trusty arms of the saline bay. I take the aluminum ladder, 1 step, 2, and release. Fall into icy August black water that may well be the sky. Her with practice strokes, muscle memory of lifeguard years and daughter days. Me, I dive and emerge once, twice, and manifest an ancient tale of sorts. The house silhouettes in gauzy obscura, and we swim. These are numbered years, quartz, crystal, bodies absorbing each other's losses. Sorry, I might cry, I didn't mean to. Until that too fails. Inevitability is still a god. When only Imogen remains, we will come for her at daybreak, a sea of purple through the mist. Even then, I float in her wake at the opaque edge of the dream morning. Ruffled wing kelp, Alaria esculenta, circles my legs like cats, sentient and recording our wordless oaths by the floating dock. You will not be alone for long. Only the footprint of the house remains visible. Thank you.
Yes, I add my thanks to everybody for being here and to Steve for putting this together. The reading tonight I'm dedicating to my grandparents. They had a farm at the end of a dirt road in a place called South Hope, Maine. And when I tell people from away that that's where they were from, where my father grew up, they say, "Oh, is there a Hope, Maine?" And I said, actually, there is a Hope, Maine. And someday I think I will write a story that's set in South Hope. But in any case, I dedicate the next 2 poems to my grandparents, both of whom were manual laborers. And that is how they were able to put my father through college at the University of Maine at Orono. The first one is dedicated to my grandmother. She worked for 60 years at the Port Clyde sardine factory. And the inspiration for me writing this poem came after the fire that took the general store, Jamie Wyeth's storage facility, and the dip net. It's called After the Fire, Port Clyde, Maine. Nothing but pilings remain, footprint of the old cannery where once conveyors throbbed, sardines cartwheeled as if they could swim backward. Scales glazed, blades flashed, eyes flung open even as heads fell into waste. Fish crammed 4 by 4 and shut away in tins coursed the line. A hiss rose, the giant steamer streamed fog from broken seals. Canning women chattered to factory rhythms, metal on metal shriek of gears, rollers, drums, oh, the noise, passing their lives on. My grandmother toiled on this ship, 60 years, the 12-hour shift, a continuous flow of fish. It seemed to carry her someplace. The general store where she bought her nickel coffee, gone to fire and heartbreak. Once upon a time, battered tools, threadbare wrench, tattered hammer, a rusty lock lamenting its forgotten key, hung preserved in a timber frame above the counter. Steam spiraled above glass pots, wooden flooring gleamed, then darkened, unburdening time. Standing on the pier, my back to black and ash, shrouded in evening mist, I imagine the thrum of industry, women's laughter, and that brass bell above the general store's door tolling, while faraway keening of the day's last Monhegan Island ferry fades to dusk. And the other poem is dedicated to my grandfather. My grandfather was a jack of all trades. He was a lobsterman, he was a farmer. He grew and harvested blueberries in the hills behind his farm, and he was also a stonemason. The Dictionary of Stone. Long ago, a stonemason knelt knee-deep in shoreline intertides and sucking mud on the living side of the Maguntacook, tracing veins into patterns, shaping boulders into blocks with hammer and chisel, feather and wedge, song of metal on stone, wedding cut rock to cut rock, ice water sluicing over his numbed hands. The K rose and rose, contained the untamed falls, and remains yet unnamed. Today, a lone fisherman awake before dawn stands on this same quay, fixes a bright feathery fly to a barbed hook, casts his line, one flowing flash of steel slivered through blue sky. Newborn sun splinters the water, pulsing shattered rhythms of light as the last ash of the fisher's morning cigarette drifts into the bay. That is all the day makes, until the pole shudders, bends, nearly breaking. He reels and pulls, marks time as the cod rises, unburdened by the sea. Fish scales fire in daybreak rays, the cod head slammed against the long gone mason's quay, then cut from its body, fish meat cased in shaved ice. The blunted head lies silent, its unblinking eye a passage to nowhere and everywhere, its mouth mouthing one final O, surprised, it seems, by the cold weight of stone. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks, Zach.
This one's a bit of an experiment. Not this. The mic is a bit of an experiment.
Thank you. Is this good? Thank you all so much for being here. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm just going to read the beginning of my essay called Patchwork. After dropping my partner off at the Mount Desert Island Hospital, I'd go down to walk the shore path. While his blood filled tiny glass vials, mine rushed free through my body, quickened by the views that have so moved me. I usually had just enough time to walk it all the way and back, wishing we'd someday do so together. Thank you. Even more, I wished he were there now, so I wouldn't have to wish it. My partner wasn't around, which was most of the time. Other couples were everywhere. On the path, I watched teenagers looking out at Egg Rock, a father taking his wife and children's picture, an older man drawing hearts in the sand, while his partner filmed, laughing. I smiled while passing her by, but made no eye contact, not wanting to burst the fragile, shimmering bubble of a memory in the making. I committed it to my own, though, adding to an expanding archive of witnessed tenderness. Often, I'd lay its contents on the floor of my mind, as if to collage, then paste a mental insert of my partner inside them, right where I wished he'd go, wished he had been. It was a way to retroactively transport him outdoors, to imagine we two had been seen and passing, with our own shape-shifting bubble. In reality, I was either with him at his parents' home, where we both lived, or I was moving through the world on my own. The shore path was often full of couples, but it was also full of other things I wished he could see. A silky cloud shawl descending one blue June day over a porcupine island, or seagulls chasing each other one November afternoon through a misty air, a bruised apple in one of their beaks. They took turns dropping it into the waves, then fishing it out like a ball, like kids. I loved watching the path through the seasons, the same place made multiple by passing time and weather. It was a special kind of travel. The scenery itself changed, or rather, was changing itself, while we stayed put or kept coming back. In summer, while the salt breeze was sweetened by beach roses, I wished my partner could put his face to their petals. In fall, I wished he could read the new sign on the old apple tree, politely asking the young to take mercy on its branches. I tried to wrap scenes from the path like pastries, then bring them home to him, the sunset sky in a soft orange icing, the crescent moon like a silver spoon digging in. But I'd sometimes forget to share these scenes while they were fresh in my mind, then forget about them altogether. They, like most pastries, had a short shelf life. My partner's blood work, on the other hand, was a long-term routine, a way for his out-of-state doctor to monitor the side effects of his many prescriptions. His parents, brother, and I took turns driving him to the hospital. On the ride back, we'd often pass by a duplex I lived in after college, and my car would struggle up the hill I used to climb on foot back then to visit him. I'd go once a week at first, then twice, then every other day, and still never felt ready to leave. Soon after we started dating, I moved to New York City for grad school. When COVID hit just months later, my partner's parents took me in. I helped out as much as I could, not only to show my gratitude to them or my love for him, but also to understand for myself what he needed, what it would take for me to meet his needs. I wanted to know whether I could do it, whether we could live independently, even if he'd still depend on me. Between chores and Zoom meetings, I scraped by at school, my work on the back burner, if not off the stove altogether. Most nights, I moved through the kitchen in a bumpy delirium, cooking meat and grains, veggies and sauce, all 4 burners turned up to the max. Within months, I broke a glass dish, a ceramic one, and a pepper shaker, and if this wasn't enough, seared the bottom of a pot into the straw-colored counter. "I'm getting a smoky smell," my partner would sometimes text from upstairs before I noticed any. "If it's charred," I'd sometimes joke, "you know who made it." As the pandemic eased and people started traveling again, old college professors and bosses reached out to ask if I would watch their pets. Pet sitting was a paying gig that offered what I couldn't afford, a space of my own, if only borrowed and temporary. I accepted all these offers, having grown sensitive to my position as a guest who, it was starting to seem possible, might never leave. Even if I could become a sole caretaker to my partner, we wouldn't have been able to move out. We didn't have the budget for rent, not on MDI, not after the pandemic boom, not while only one of us was working, perhaps not any other way either. The housing crisis was so severe, it was a question of availability as much as cost, all while, if not because, the seasonal vacancy rate kept rising, reaching 60% in 2022. It was hard to find a home, it turned out, where most houses stood empty. And so my partner and I lived, for now indefinitely, at his parents'. While their generosity allowed me to stay on the island and therefore to stay with their son, pet sitting offered brief pockets of privacy and a kind of independence I'd almost forgotten. It was a glimpse not only into the life I might have once my partner got better, but also to the one I could have right now, even if nothing else changed. I could spend less time in the kitchen and yet, or therefore, put my figurative pot back on the stove. I could start writing again, using every metaphorical burner and as few of the real ones as possible. After all, I didn't need the fire alarm going off. Of course, it did anyway. Thank you.
Is that about right? I don't know why this happens every time I come to this library, but I get a frog in my throat, so I won't tell you my frog stories. Anyway, I want to thank the library here, Zachary, and all of you here in the audience, and certainly Steve for putting this wonderful creation together, the third in a series, and all my fellow readers. I'm only going to take a few minutes to read my thing, but I want to mention that I have a granddaughter, a great grand niece in New York City who does a lot of slam poetry very successfully. Phoebe is her name, and Phoebe and I have often discussions about our various works. And I tell her that, well, she calls this piece I'm about to read, she calls it page poetry. And I argue with her. I wrote her a little essay called In Defense of Page Poetry, because to my mind, it's a living thing. It's not performative the way her slam poetry is, but I mean, it does keep changing. And I had a very recent example. A friend of mine, who's actually in this book too, Carl Little, read this poem recently. And this is a lesson in how we can always change and accept input from our fellow writers and so on. But Carl actually changed the title. He changed the title from Sandman in Acadia to Sandman of Acadia. And I was a little offended at first, as we all get, but then I thought, it really is much better. I mean, Sandman in Acadia it's a Sandman in Acadia. Sandman of Acadia is a child of Acadia. I mean, it evolves from Acadia. So I will read you, and I will not have Phoebe's dramatic flamboyance and flair the way she does her slam poetry. I wish she were here, she could read this for me. But I will read it. It's Sandman of, and I'm sorry for changing it, Steve. I know you've got it carved in stone here, but it's Sandman of Acadia. It's magnificent. The shoreline, am I coming across here? All right. It's magnificent. The shoreline, the mountains, great head in the background. Far away, the great pandemic of 2020 rages through the countryside. It is late October now in Acadia National Park. The beach is deserted, except for me, or so it appears. Just below, someone has expertly carved a figure into the sand, a muscled, middle-aged man with jowly cheeks and balding head sprawled on his back. Every man awaiting his fate. I stand just above the figure's head, watching the waves roll in, lap at his feet. Time and tide, they say, for no man wait. Like sand through an hourglass, the toes wash away. A swirly of frothy water and the feet are gone. Standing a bit farther back now, I document this process with my Canon EOS 1000. Fugacia omnia, I think to myself as the ankles and knees disappear. Yes, all is fleeting, I repeat, but this at least I will preserve, creation of my own, overriding the best intentions of the artist before me. I capture the sculpted belly as it dissolves into the smooth, glistening sand. And then, oh, so smug in my godliness, I look up and see, high on a ledge on the path to Great Head, a man with a tripod and a camera like my own, capturing his own story of me and the story I am telling. It's my story. I look back to the figure at my feet. Only the tips of the ears remain and the crescent dome at the top of the head. I step back from the rising tide, the waves swirling and lapping at my feet. Above me, the man on the ledge has vanished. It is only me now and the gentle washing of the waves. Sorry, Phoebe, if I had your... That was actually, I think I have another half minute. I'll put this in the back where anybody can see it. That was actually based, I mean, that is real. This is the photograph of the Sandman in Acadia. I can pass it around, but it was very, very expertly carved. It was part of a series. This is the one I really focused on, and I did. It took about 3 hours, or not that long, but for it to actually wash away. I mean, it was a very powerful experience. So, thank you very much.
I know. It'll have to be, won't it? So my name is William Henry Forrester, not Richard or Robert, Kyle or Stephen. Just to my grandmother, I was Willie. To my grandfather, I was William. But I'm just me. So thanks, Steve, for putting this together. This is the second time that I've participated. Hopefully, I'll continue to do so until I'm dead. Interestingly enough, I am the first and last writer in this volume, so I guess a bouquet of roses between two large Scottish thorns, maybe. This one is called The Voice on the Bay. This will help. Being 75 is no fun. The fog comes without a sound, rolling in from the open sea, settling low over the harbor like something ancient, something watching. It moves between the pilings, brushes against the hulls of boats that have not left their moorings in years. The tide carries it inward, up the river mouth, through the reeds, over the stones still slick with memory. A bell rings from somewhere unseen, distant, deliberate, a call, perhaps an answer, or perhaps just the weight of things that cannot be spoken aloud. A gull lifts into the thickened air, a brief shape, its cry swallowed before it can be heard. The water shifts below, restless, but the land holds still, waiting. Everything here listens. If I can find the other one right here, yeah. This one is called The Sound of What Remains. I've written a lot of poetry books, and as we were discussing earlier, people either love my poetry or they think it's terrible and depressing. So I guess that's perception. The sound of what remains, not a voice, something else. A hum from beneath the surface of things, woven into the breath of the tide, the hush of pine needles shifting on the cliffs above the bay. It lingers in the spaces between, in the hollowed out places where things have been left behind, a forgotten dock, a rusted chain half buried in the sand, the ruins of a house no longer whole, but yet not gone. If you stand long enough where the land meets the sea, where the fog moves slow and steady, as the hand of a clock unwinding, you'll hear it. Not a word, not a cry, just the weight of something waiting, just the sound of what remains.
Yeah, good. How's that? Good. So thank you for having me here, the library and Steve Long and 12 Willows Press for producing this wonderful anthology. I was delighted to hear a reference to Carl Little a minute ago. I trust Carl with anything poetic. And actually Carl is a frequent paddler with me on the Allagash in June. And he introduced a tradition that we still follow. Every night when we sit down at the table, after dinner, we read poetry. So it's a real great tradition, and one of these poems showed up in that Allagash reading. This is called Baker Island. Whale oil powered the light, thrown 20 miles round by Mr. Fresnel's faceted lens. It turned into clockwork, wound every 4 hours, 42 stone steps up to tower's top. The one time it broke, lightkeeper Robbins turned it by hand, slow, steady, to keep the beat of the light, to keep boats safe over 2 whole nights. Now the keepers are gone, some to the graveyard with a view of humpbacked mountains across the water, or scattered to home places elsewhere. William Gilly was the first keeper and first settler, raising with his good wife Hannah 6 sons and 6 daughters. Big family is a good strategy for life on a small island. Plenty of hands to plant gardens in stingy soil, to plant and fortified with seaweed, stove ash, fish guts. Self-sufficient. Chickens, Leicester sheep, a Devon milk cow freshened with the yearly visit from bull in a dory. They sent off wool, flax, wheat for milling on the mainland, brought home cloth, flour, cash money for churned butter, cod, and haddock. Government pay helped for a while till a Whig was elected president in 1828. Democrat Gilly declined to keep their light. 18 keepers over a century and more, some with families. Wives timed their walk across sand and mud over the bar at low tide to reach the midwife on the next island in time. Some were bachelors, tending their solitude or courting the teacher at the tiny schoolhouse built before the 19th century turned 20. Baker Island light flashes white every 10 seconds, 6 beats of the heart, matching my breath in and out, a pulse of comfort across the sea when I wake in the night. Coast Guard automated the works in 1957, a lens of plastic now, sun-powered. The whales are glad. And I dedicate this to the diligence of Cornelia Cesare for her wonderful monograph of the history of Baker Island, and also to Charles Eliot, former president of Harvard University, whose book most people had on their shelves called John Gilly of Baker Island. So that was that. Second is called the Bar Island Swim. Many of you know I've been associated with College of Atlantic for many years and participated in this swim. It starts with an epigraph from the Mount Desert Islander, September 17, 2015. Scores of students at College of Atlantic in Bar Harbor plunge into the ocean for the annual swim from the Bar Island sandbar to the school dock on Eden Street. The water temperature was near the seasonal high of 55 degrees. With the plunge, paralysis. Memory triggers, arms, legs, lungs. Flailing limbs fail to find traction. A ship whose propellers are turning but is yet underway. Struggling to slow, panicked breath, you set your bearings. Self-preservation gives way to determination for the arc of the undertaking. One shore falls away, the other looms, dancing between gravity and buoyancy, muscles and breath in synchrony. Stubborn fears ease as you swim into one slender, sun-warmed current snaking along the shore. Finally, grasping the rung of the ladder, hauling out like a walrus, shaky-limbed walk, towels, and hot tea. Each year we dive to recover the truth, rescuing challenge from preambles and protocols, a jumbled lecture on hypothermia, 5 warning signs, waved waivers, long march against honking traffic. Giddy chatter propels us to the gravel bar laid bare by receding tide, a painting by Surratt, tourists stroll, dogs bark, gulls wheel. Kayak guides gather their flocks who trundle with double-ended paddles and waterproof bibs to plastic boats, small yellow whales, beached and bleached and waiting. At the end of the bar, 2 white vans, the first with the symbol of the college that opens its year with this swim, the meaning of the hieroglyph lost all but the first class. A SWAT team flanks the other, stern rangers in dark glasses, perhaps assembled to make sure we don't make a break for Gouldsborough's forested islands or the bay beyond. On the sloping shore, a rope fence looped, slender stakes driven into the shingle. We line up, we sign the memory book maintained over a quarter century. We surrender our valuables, perhaps to be returned if we make it to the far shore. A cheerful staff member checks our name, inks a number on our upper arm. Save these tattoos to identify us should we fail to float. We are now nearly naked, edging towards the water, trying not to be conscious of our own bodies, though conscious of the bodies of others. We are all sizes, shapes, ages, hues, refugees herded together in a corral to swim 1/3 of a mile to freedom. I chat with a woman whose name I cannot remember, but whose eyes are kind. Some swimmers have flippers, wetsuit tops, others clad in bikinis or baggy trunks, or not at all. Nervous talks and bravado hides hesitation. 3 foghorn blasts from the watchboat Osprey. We stumble, tender-footed over barnacle-crusted cobbles, splashing into body-numbing water. Out from shore, I look back, 100 and more bobbing heads, like a rookery of seals swimming west to the distant dock hidden in the glare of the setting sun, swimming in order to tell the story, swimming to claim their future. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Annaliese Jakimides, and I always like to set the place. Okay, so I'm from Bangor, but I come to Bangor by way of Mount Chase, a town of about 160 in northern Maine near the north entrance to Baxter. And that's the place, I didn't grow up there, but that's the place I always call home. And so it just gives you a reference when I refer to some of the things here. I also want to remember to say for Steve that the first 2 anthologies were finalists for the Maine Literary Awards. And this one maybe, we don't know yet, they haven't been announced yet. And the other thing I want to say in reference to these anthologies is I think that 12 Willows Press is the only publisher in the entire state that sets up these kinds of readings all over the place for us. So there's a reading at least every month in some place far afield where we can all sign up and have an opportunity to read. I also, as I start this, this essay is longer than 5 minutes, like Shir's was longer than 5 minutes, and so we have to cut them. I have read twice and only been able to read the first half of the essay, and it makes me uncomfortable. I'm just not happy with it. So in past years when I've had work in the anthology, I've been able to cut a little bit and be able to read the whole thing. This one was a longer essay, so I didn't feel I could do that. Well, I've done that, so you're only going to hear about half the essay, but I've enabled myself to start at the beginning and end at the end. So we'll see how this goes. On the edge. I've been driving more than an hour each day to the ocean for weeks now. Although our tidal shoreline is the 4th longest in the country, holder of first light, this coast is undramatic. A beach that even at the height of beach weather only sports a dot of a human here and there. A quiet rage, shifting under the swell of its lip, the ocean exposes its nubby stone carpet of deserted winter. This morning when I left my small inland city, the wind was stiff, the temperature was 27, the sky dark except for the tint of streetlights, wool jacket, headband, gloves, and, just in case, a pair of red and yellow hand-knit mittens like I used to make every winter up north. My youngest lost so many single mittens, despite the strings and buttons and safety pins, that he learned to knit replacements. And with his begrudgingly acquired new skill, then for years made capes for his little plastic men. On the back seat of the car, I leave an old woolen blanket, witness to child after child, asleep on the couch by the wood stove, perhaps a living room tent, so that I can be here early enough to watch night become day, dark become light, wrapped in a shroud of beloved stories. Stunned into submission, taste buds juggle salt and grit. Last night I was dreaming of the sea that erupts in the month that comes after all the others we know. A sheet of fog rolls in over the water that has slapped all kinds of shores far beyond mine, water that has evaporated in one place, traveled across the sky in clouds, and fallen in another land, this land. I taste the otherness on my lips, and I wait. My face turned up into the early light that lies on the back of this sea, I hear a slight whistle, a human whistle, but no human is in sight. I wonder whether someone will finally walk down the beach to this place I come to, this place where reality seems not quite as certain of itself, where the invisible makes sense, where stories with multiple endings or multiple middles or multiple beginnings are welcome, dreams fragment, the carpet fractures, and something new, well unanticipated, encounters the possibility of revelation. I hear another whistle down the beach. My youngest learned how to whistle from a clarinetist I brought to our small rural school to show them a jazz musician in action, to show my children and all the others, many of whom in all their lives will never leave these towns that open north toward the Allagash, Katahdin land. Actually, I'm not sure what I was showing them, except that the world is big and options unlimited, even though what they saw was small and what they heard was country music. I have been gone from that land for a long time, my son from all land. I can't locate this whistling. Maybe it's a few yards back from the wild rugosa rose bushes, all scruffy and windblown. I can't be sure. My sense of direction has never been good, but now it's downright useless. And none of it matters. Nothing matters except that I'll be here tomorrow and the next day and the next, abraded a bit, rubbed raw in places, burnished to an exquisite sheen in others. Whenever I think of this sun and water, first I think of how he would go forever without a shower if no one paid attention, and then take one only once I insisted. But that's what I think of, my head reaction, the cerebral observation. But when I see him, when the vision of him by water comes unbidden, he is always standing on the edge of Vinyl Haven Quarry, his toes literally curled over the rough rock edge, about to relinquish all that holds him to the earth, although I only saw him standing there at the quarry, in that spot, in that way, just one summer afternoon, one golden summer afternoon, when we come to hear the jazz whistler play in his world. Neither of us ever saw a quarry again. Day after day, here I stand where land slips away under the rippling surface, an otherness of possibilities. There is nothing against which to measure this coming and going, the shifts, the wind on my face, only a sea of sweet nothingness. Here I am here, until one day I spread my arms and spit around, or as much as I can spin with winter boots on, digging tiny centripetal canyons of cold sand along the beach with its lapping waters and the whistling, a composition of sounds that have no identifiable connection, just a transcription of breath from inside and outside, from the land on which I stand, from the sky, from the branches of the leafless rose bushes, from the distant waves that rock the distant kayak, from everything and everywhere. I open my mouth, a kind of song floats out until my lips close, and a whistle stutters itself into the air all around me. Thank you.
So, you can see there's some really, really good writing in these books, and you just heard a small smattering of it tonight, but there's wonderful writers in all the books, and so if you have not submitted yet, I highly encourage you to. The window's still open to the end of the month, and like I said earlier, check out my website. There's submissions information. I'd love to have more of you to submit. Other than that, though, I don't have anything else to say, so thank you very much for coming tonight, and wish you safe travels home. Thank you. Oh, wait, yes, there are books for sale in the lobby, so.